Welcome to Colorado LTAP. When the snow stops flying and the grass starts growing, we here in Colorado have come to expect severe weather. Here is why we are discussing severe weather and staying safe. If we plan ahead for severe weather by checking our weather apps, we will be prepared during projects or daily maintenance activities. Between 1992 to 2021, severe weather has caused numerous deaths. Floods with 88, lightning with 37, and tornadoes with 71. Could these have been prevented? With a little knowledge, we can plan accordingly and hopefully reduce those numbers. We will start with wind. We have all been out on a project or even our daily jobs, and the wind comes out of nowhere. It blows our traffic control over, causes signs to be ripped off the poles, or even cause enough damage we have to go out and remove trees that have blown over. Let's look at some facts about the wind. Wind is the movement of air caused by the uneven heating of the earth by the sun. This is one force you cannot see or hold. It is strong enough to dry your clothes or chill you to the bone. It can carry ships across the ocean or rip trees from the ground. It is the great equalizer of the atmosphere, transporting heat, moisture, pollutants, and dust around the globe. It also helps shape the land. We all know that between a high pressure and a low pressure system is a front. The complex relationship between fronts causes different types of wind. Winds are part of disasters such as hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons, monsoons, tornadoes, nor'easters, and blizzards. Wind is measured in terms of wind shear. Wind shear is a difference in wind speed and direction over a set distance in the atmosphere. It is measured both horizontally and vertically. The amount of force the wind is generating is measured by the Beaufort scale. There are 17 levels of wind force. 0 is so calm that you can see smoke rise vertically. A 12 describes a hurricane. 13 to 17 are reserved for tropical typhoons, the most powerful and potentially destructive wind systems. Wind is a major factor in determining weather and climate. Many daily weather patterns depend on the wind. A coastal region undergoes changes in wind direction daily. The wind also affects the mountains, bringing moisture to one side of the mountain and dry down sloping winds to the other. Wind has the power to move particles around the earth. It can also move volcanic ash. The wind, while moving particles around, is also causing erosion. This is detrimental to the agriculture. The wind can erode up to 1.6 pounds per square foot every year. The most famous windstorm that moved soil was the Dust Bowl of 1930s. Due to the Dust Bowl, farmers around several states lost their crops. But while wind can strip the land, it also helps with spreading seeds of plants. Now, some plants we wish wouldn't spread, but dandelions are the most famous, using the winds to repollinate. Wind has been used for thousands of years as energy, pushing ships around the sea, pushing windmills to pump water, turning stones to grind grains. Lately, we have used wind energy with the big, huge wind turbines. Wind energy does not directly cause pollution. So, what is the difference between wind alerts? A high wind watch is strong, sustained winds that are possible. High wind warning, a strong, sustained wind with stronger gusts that are occurring. Wind advisory, same as a high wind warning, but with slower wind speeds. A dust storm warning, issued when visibility is reduced to a half mile or less due to blowing dust or sand from sustained or gusting winds. What can we do for high wind safety? We all realize that when the wind starts blowing, we can't always go inside and wait it out. But here are some tips. Get indoors if possible and seek shelter. If driving, reduce your speed. If driving a high profile vehicle, pull over and wait. Be cautious of downed power lines or trees. Be cautious of debris flying from homes and businesses. The wind can blow a worker from an elevated position, so wait until the wind dies down. Wind can also cause you to lose your grip on tools. Be cautious of where you are. Strains and sprains are due to being forcefully pushed around, like when you open a car door and the wind catches it. If you have to be outside, wear goggles to prevent debris in your eyes. Ensure that a hard hat is secured on your head by using a chin strap. Make sure you grab those doors to the truck or toolboxes to prevent damage to the equipment. But let the doors fly if you're going to be injured holding on to them. Move cautiously and always pay attention to flying debris around you to prevent injury. Another part of the wind, especially during the winter, it brings the wind chill. High winds provoke chills, causing you to lose body heat at a much faster rate than you would normally. And with this wind chill in the winter, it will cause the temperature to feel colder than it really is, which can lead to frostbite or hypothermia. During the wind, ensure that you're wearing layers, gloves, and winter hats such as beanies. Next thing we experience in Colorado is floods. 2013, we experienced the Big Thompson Canyon flooding again, causing $1 million of damage, homeowners stranded or having lost their homes, and towns cut off from emergency services. Let's look at the details of floods. Floods are described by National Geographic as when water overflows or soaks land that is normally dry. Floods can take time to develop over hours or days. Other times, they can develop quickly and with little warning. There are several ways floods can develop. The most common way is when rivers or streams can overflow their banks. These floods are called riverine floods. Heavy rain, a broken dam or levee, rapid ice melt in the mountains, or even a beaver dam in a vulnerable spot can overwhelm a river and send it spreading over nearby land. The land surrounding the river is called the floodplain. Floods can be caused by other natural disasters such as earthquakes and tsunamis. In Colorado, we don't have to worry about tsunamis, but earthquakes could cause us issues. Strong winds can cause flooding. Floods can also be caused by man. Engineers flooded the Grand Canyon to redistribute sediment and hopefully to provide sandbars for wildlife. Dam controls the natural floodplains of lakes and rivers. Hydrologists may intentionally flood areas to prevent damage to the dam or increase water supply for agricultural industry or consumer use. Engineers may also intentionally flood areas to prevent the possibility of worse flooding. Floods also occur naturally. They are part of the water cycle and the environment is adapted to flooding. Wetlands along riverbanks and lakes absorb floodwaters. Wetland vegetation slow the speed of floodwaters and more evenly distribute their energy. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the wetlands along the Mississippi River used to be able to store at least 60 days of floodwater. Now it can only store about 12 days of floodwater due to the wetlands drying up or being used for growth in cities. We have all heard the term 100-year flood, but what does it really mean? A 100-year flood means there is a 1% chance that such a flood could happen in any given year. Flash floods can be extremely dangerous, instantly turning a babbling brook into a thundering wall of water. Most deaths occur from flash floods. In Colorado, since we are part of the Great American Desert, we are vulnerable to flash floods. And with this flash flooding in the mountains, we could have landslides. The effects of a flood can be devastating. When floodwaters recede, the affected areas are often blanketed in silt, mud, and debris. This sediment can be benefiting to farmers and agribusiness. Floods have enormous destructive power. Many structures are unable to withstand the force of the water. Bridges, homes, trees, and roads can be carried off. When the water recedes, there can be more damage. This is the time that the landscape can be contaminated with hazardous materials, such as sharp debris, pesticides, fuel, and untreated sewage. On top of all these, potential dangerous molds can quickly overwhelm water-soaked structures, and with some floods, it could cause deadly diseases like typhoid, malaria, hepatitis A, and cholera. In the U.S., floods are responsible for an average of nearly 100 deaths every year and cause $7.5 billion in damage. We're going to touch on landslides. Debris flows commonly begin in swells on steep slopes, making areas downslope from swells hazardous. Road cuts and other altered or excavated areas of slopes are particularly susceptible to debris flows. Listen for sounds such as trees cracking or boulders knocking together. Embankments along roadsides are particularly susceptible to landslides. Watch pavement for collapsed pavement, mud, fallen rocks, or other indications of possible debris flow. Things to look for before a landslide are new cracks or unusual bulges in the ground, street, pavement, or sidewalks. Soil moving away from foundations, tilting or cracking of concrete floors and foundations, leaning telephone poles or trees, retaining walls or fences. Sticking door jambs and windows are another sign. So what are some hazards? We have air quality. During flood events, substances can be dragged into the water, carrying toxic substances into the home or office. These can leave a residue affecting health. Your carbon monoxide, usually with power being out, increases the use of gas-powered generators, creating carbon monoxide. You have cleanup hazards. You may come into contact with body hazards, thermal stress, structural instability, or hazardous materials and fire. How about electrical? Overhead lines, circuits and cables, or ladders and other metal items. You could have falls. Things may be hidden under the debris. Fire during and after the event, smoke inhalation, extreme heat, burns and irritation, or hazardous materials during and after, toxic, explosive, flammable, self-reacting, oxidizing, or corrosive, and heat stress, confusion, headaches, seizures, nausea, and loss of coordination. So what can we do? Well, with PPE, we could have gas masks, gloves, overalls, boots, goggles. If you have to go into a confined space, make sure you're qualified. You might also come into contact with human remains. Remember, hazards when working include risk of infection with blood-borne pathogens and diarrheal diseases. Anyone who has spent time outside has encountered lightning. It's beautiful from a distance, but can be deadly up close and personal. Let's take a closer look into this. People who work outside are at a higher risk of being struck. There are 40 million strikes to the ground that have happened in the U.S. The odds of being struck by lightning in a given year are less than 1 in a million, and almost 90% of all lightning strike victims survive. The odds of being struck multiple times is even less, with the record being 7 times in one lifetime. One-third of lightning injuries occurs indoors. Florida, Texas, Colorado, North Carolina, Alabama, Arizona, Georgia, Missouri, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have the most lightning deaths and injuries. Florida is considered the lightning capital of the country, with more than 2,000 lightning injuries over the past 50 years. Between the years of 2006 to 2021, there were 24 lightning deaths in Colorado. To understand lightning, we have to understand what exactly it is. National Geographic states that lightning is an electrical charge or current. It can come from the clouds to the ground, cloud to cloud, or from the ground to a cloud. Lightning is a product of a planet's atmosphere. Raindrops very high up in the sky turns to ice. When many small pieces of these frozen raindrops collide with each other in a thundercloud, they create an electrical charge. After some time, the entire cloud fills with the electrical charge. The negative charges, electrons, concentrate at the bottom of the cloud. The positive and neutral charges, protons and neutrons, gather at the top of the cloud. We all know that negative charges and positive charges attract each other. Thunderclouds are full of electrical charges connecting with each other. Now on the ground, beneath the cloud's negative charges, positive charges build up. The positive charge on the ground concentrates around anything that protrudes or sticks up, such as trees, telephone poles, blades of grass, and even people. The negative charges in the thundercloud reach lower. Once they touch, lightning is created. This connection also makes thunder. We all know that thunder is the sound we hear with lightning. The sound is the heat of lightning. The air gets very, very hot, which makes the air explode. Since light travels faster than sound, this is why we see it before we hear it. We all know that lightning and thunderstorms are dangerous. Lightning is very hot, actually hotter than the surface of the sun. It can reach 28,000 degrees. We also know that lightning likes to strike objects that stick up off the ground, which includes people. In the U.S., lightning kills an average of 58 people a year. They have also found that 90% of the deaths are male. So how do we keep safe? We need to understand thunderstorms producing lightning that can strike 10 to 15 miles away from any rainfall. If we hear the thunder, we are close enough to be struck by lightning. Since we are usually outside, we need to avoid water, high ground, open spaces, or standing under or near a tree. Stay away from fences, electrical wires, and machinery. If caught out in an electric storm, find shelter or stay in your vehicle. What happens when there's nothing to use as shelter? Crouch down, put your feet together, tuck your head low, and cover your ears. Stay at least 15 feet away from other people or metal objects. Do not lay down on the ground. If you have anything metal on you, remove it. If you start to feel an electrical charge, which will be hair stands on end or skin tingles, drop to your knees and bend forward, putting hands on your knees. Remember, if you witness a person who has been struck by lightning, they receive an electrical shock and may be burned, but they will not carry an electrical charge and can be handled immediately. Remember that a person that has been struck can be revived by prompt CPR. Being on the eastern plains, we tend to get tornadoes more than in the mountains, but never say never, and Kansas is just a twist away. Tornadoes are violently spinning columns of air that extend from thunderclouds to the ground. Tornadoes can produce some of the strongest winds on Earth. Tornadoes form by cold polar air meeting warm tropical air. The United States is the country with the most tornadoes, with more than 1,000 per year. The regions with all the tornadoes is Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley. Most tornadoes last less than 10 minutes. From 1991 to 2020, there have been 182.4 tornadoes with only 22 and a half fatalities. Signs of a potential tornado: strong, persistent rotation in the cloud base, whirling dust or debris on the ground under the cloud base. Tornadoes sometimes do not have funnels. Hail or heavy rain, followed by either dead calm or a fast, intense wind shift. Day or night, there could be a loud, continuous roar or rumble, which does not fade in a few seconds. At night, there is a small, bright blue-green to white flashes at ground level near a thunderstorm. This means power lines are being snapped by strong wind and possibly a tornado. Also at night, there is a persistent lowering from the cloud base, illuminated or silhouetted by lightning. Tornadoes are classed by the Fujita scale. Tornadoes are based on wreckage after the tornado, since wind speeds are hard to measure. In EF0, wind gusts are estimated between 65 to 85 miles per hour. There will be minor damage, such as tree branches broken, shallow-rooted trees uprooted, and some structure damage like chimneys. In EF1, wind gusts are estimated between 86 to 110 miles an hour. There will be moderate damage, such as mobile homes tipped over, windows broken, roof tiles may have blown off, and some tree trunks have snapped. In EF2, wind gusts are estimated between 111 to 135 miles per hour. There will be considerable damage, such as mobile homes destroyed, roofs damaged, debris flies, and large trees are uprooted or snapped. EF3, the wind gusts are estimated between 136 to 165 miles per hour. There will be severe damage, such as roofs and walls are ripped off, buildings. Small buildings are destroyed, and most trees are uprooted. In EF5, wind gusts are estimated between 166 to 200 miles an hour. There will be sustained, devastating damage, such as well-built homes are destroyed, buildings lifted off their foundation, cars are blown away, and large debris is flying in the air. In EF5, wind gusts are estimated over 200 miles an hour. There will be sustained incredible damage, such as well-built homes are lifted from foundations, reinforced concrete buildings are damaged, bark is stripped from trees, and there will be car-sized debris flying. Tornado warnings. Find a safe location, such as a safe room, basement, storm cellar, or small interior room on the lowest level of a sturdy building. Stay away from windows, doors, and outside walls. Bathtubs are good to hide in if they are metal. If they are fiberglass or plastic, they'll not protect you from flying debris. Cover your head or neck with materials such as mattresses or blankets. Make sure you know where the heavy furniture is upstairs and do not hide under that furniture in your basement. If you have a helmet for a bike or a motorcycle, put it on. It wouldn't hurt. If you're in a car, drive at right angles to the tornado to escape. Move to the lowest location and lie down. Do not hide under an overpass or bridge. The wind and suction power can rip you out and or cause vehicles to fly around underneath. If you can find a small culvert to crawl into, it could work, but you could also be sucked out. Always watch for flying debris. So after the storm, make sure you stay clear of power lines. Hopefully, you're wearing thick soled shoes, long pants, work gloves, and a face cover due to the damage. Do not enter buildings until they are deemed safe. Do not light matches or lighters due to the possibility of broken natural gas pipes or even fuel tanks. And remember, violent tornadoes have at least a 99% survival. So here are some references to look into severe weather further. Thank you for attending the Colorado LTAP Tailgate Talk. See you later.